Today is the 6th of July, and our reading in this day in Baptist history comes from a Forgotten Philanthropic Hero. And our scripture reading is 2 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 5. And this they did, not as we hoped, but first gave their own selves to the Lord, and unto us by the will of God. How soon spiritual heroes are forgotten. The Lord has graciously given us a spiritual hall of fame in Hebrews 11 to illustrate to us what has been accomplished by men of like passions who have dared to believe God in former generations. In my reading of Baptist history, I have come upon the name of Robert Arthington of Leeds, England. My reading served only to whet my appetite to know more about this unsung hero, who was used of God not as a missionary or a Christian statesman, but as a humble, self-effacing philanthropist. What was amazing about Mr. Arthington was not that he gave out his abundance as a rich man, but that he lived so frugally in order to give the savings he would accumulate by refusing what many Christians today would consider necessities. Wanting to know more of such a man, I visited libraries seeking any available information. However, this hero is unknown to the secular historians of our day. Most of what has been preserved of Mr. Arthington's life is to be found in relation to his partnership in the work of the great Baptist missionary to the Congo, George Grenfell. No sooner had Henry Stanley completed his 3-year trek through the dark continent of Africa on August 8, 1877, than Baptist missionary interest was stirred. It was soon realized that via the Congo River and its numerous tributaries, some 20 or 25 million people could be reached with the gospel. But how could the river be navigated? Canoes were slow and dangerous. Oftentimes these canoes would be upset and the passengers became food for crocodiles. Several years previous to all this, Mr. Robert Arthington had become interested in evangelizing the Congo. He had read that a semblance of Christianity at one time penetrated the Congo, and a vestige of gospel still remained. Seeking information, Arthington corresponded with officers of the Royal Geographic Society of England, and being burdened for the spiritual need of the nationals on May 14, 1877, he wrote to the Baptist Missionary Society offering to underwrite the cost and upkeep of a steamer that could be used by missionaries to penetrate the darkness of heathenism. In time, the steamship called Peace became a reality on the Congo. On July 6, 1884, Grenfell wrote to one of the owners of the firm that had fabricated the ship in Great Britain and gave great detail as to the launching of the gospel vessel that opened the door to countless millions. Arthington gave continually for the expansion of missionary outreach in the Congo, allowing the missionaries to expand their ministries through the use of several such ships of grace. But let me share just a bit about Robert Arthington's life. He, and I quote, deprived himself of all but the barest of necessities, wore the same coat for 17 years, and even begrudged the use of candles that he might devote the utmost farthing to world evangelization. End of quote. Another has written that Arthington, and I quote, a Cambridge graduate, lived in a single room, cooking his own meals, and he gave foreign missions £500,000 on the condition that was all to be spent on pioneer work within 25 years. He wrote these words, "Gladly would I make the floor my bed, a box my chair, and another box my table, rather than that men should perish for want of the knowledge of Christ." End of quote. In our day of materialism, how we need to examine our own giving to see whether it reflects our love of souls or our love of self. May God raise up not a few millionaires to support the work of missions, but a host of men and women with the spiritual determination of Robert Arthington to sacrifice and to send forward the knowledge of Christ. To God be the glory.